and then they're having to be thrown into the proverbial fire, which is what we've had to do with several players on defense this year. Everyone from guys like Von Bell to Moore, Crawley, P.J. Williams, B.W. Webb, as we've said, and and even in case of like Nate Stupar, who is showing up and doing decently well. He's still got some things that we all need him to work on, but doing decently well at linebacker. And you just don't expect guys to have to go through that early. Let's see. We've got. I don't think that's Brian. Is that you, Patrick?
That's me. How you doing, Deuce?
I'm good, man. It's good to hear from you. I haven't heard your voice in quite some time.
Yeah, I feel like I was on your show when you and Barry was doing the show there. Yeah, it's been a while since last year, I believe.
Yeah, man. So, first off, how's it feel to actually get to make some game film the past couple weeks on wins instead of on the 3 straight losses start the season?
So much easier.
Yeah.
But it's well, I would say it's much more enjoyable, but you always can find a lot in the losses, why they did this wrong or whatnot. But it's it's a lot better, and you know that too. You do film studies, so you're sitting there saying, "Wow, look at this." But
and I'm actually watching it now as I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to multitask too much. I've got the Pelicans game going on one monitor, Cubs game, watching film, and then trying to do this show, waiting for Brian to call in too. So I'm overloading my plate. But, man, this is the most heaviest sports time of the year for New Orleans. So.
This is a great time of the year for, across the country with everything going on. Like you said, I got the World Series on too right now. The Cubs are doing really well. But, going back to the Saints, just getting up Monday morning, it's so much easier to go to work. I mean, that was an intense win. That dome was at the very end. You didn't want it to happen again. Let's win at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the Oakland game. It's just like you walk out of there and it's like a death march out of there. Jesus. But that was a good win, and they had a lot of Seahawks fans there, a bunch. I mean, and they were loud, But the Saints, after that interception, that dome came alive.
Yeah,
it really did. It changed. You could see it on the sideline. They were pumped. The crowd was pumped, and it was like, that's it. This is, it's going to be a dogfight, and it was. I mean, that's a good team they beat.
Yeah, it was a good game. I think if I have to give some kudos to anybody, it really have to be Dennis Allen. He showed a lot of very defensive fronts, and not just that, he really got – I know I did, really thought that we'd just see guys like Kenny Vaccaro doing nothing but like shadowing Jimmy Graham. But and I'll try to – I don't really write for anybody at the moment, but I'll try to put it on Twitter. There's several plays that Kenny Vaccaro made with Jimmy Graham on the field where he didn't even touch Graham, where they would show like shadow looks, and then they would just have a linebacker punch Graham at the line to just kind of throw his beat off a little bit. And Kenny was making great plays in the run game and in the pass game. So Dennis Allen really got creative but not cute, I think. And that's a word we've used a lot with Sean Payton and some of his play calling. Dennis Allen called a really good game without getting cute, and it really helped us out. We only gave up 1 touchdown and 2 field goals.
And, that's a really good point. And I go back to the interception. He dropped Tyler Davis in the coverage on Graham. He dropped back Robinson. He was actually triple teamed on that play. It was like a 1st and 15, and they went after him. And Wilson actually looked his way briefly, and then he took the curse, and I don't even think he's seen Stupar coming across there,
Yeah, but, I was excited about the Stupar interception because it's the first time I can really think of this year where, as an entire defense, the zone coverage was right for everybody. Like, everybody was in good positioning. Everybody was reading correctly, because Stupar just dropped back in a short intermediate zone, and he jumped the route. And we've struggled with that all year, whether it be Anthony or Robinson have to do it at middle linebacker. James Laurinaitis has been benched because he can't do that cover 2 zone. And, I mean, Stupar made a great play, and And it wasn't just Stupar. I mean, every route was basically covered on that play, and Russell just made a wasn't even a bad throw. It was just a great athletic play by Stupar.
Yeah, like he thought he could fit it in there, you know, and yeah, well, it's just a great play by him, you know, and it's baby steps with this defense, and you see it a little bit better each week. It's like, I think after that Atlanta debacle when they just got steamrolled, and you're thinking back to the last couple of years, we're going to go through this all year where it's just going to be horrible. I mean, they're not average yet, but they're getting there. You know what I'm saying? They are.
Yeah.
But I think having Bro back, hopefully this week, is going to be huge.
Yeah, it should make hopefully a pretty big difference. Maybe not necessarily I think Bro's going to make a big deal, but it's going to be for whoever he's covering. And also, can we really expect Bro to be at 100% when he comes back, or is he going to need a games period worth of adjustment need to be made to get back into NFL speed? I mean, he might be 100% healthy on that leg, but is he NFL ready in terms of lining up against an NFL caliber receiver and staying with him hip to hip? So now I'm not saying that he's going to struggle. I'm simply saying that I don't necessarily know if – let me put it this way. I'm glad that he's not lining up again alongside, Demaryius Thomas. He's lining up against the 49ers.
Yeah. If they ease him in, it's a good game to do it because they're horrible on offense. I mean, you could say the same thing about Rankins. Him coming back. I mean, football shape wise, them big bodies.
Yeah.
And then after it, you got to get your legs under you. So and him too, they activate him. So for the game. It'd be good to see him get in there, get a little work done, because when they come back to the Dome against Denver, that's going to be another slugfest, just like the Seattle game, so you can expect that. So, but, with this Kings team, they better not overlook San Francisco. We've seen them do it too many times, so. But,
well, especially with this team I know Saints fans are in this euphoria right now where we're going to basically run the table and go 9-7 or 10-6 or 11-5. But to me, and maybe I'm just Mr. Pessimism and nobody wants to talk to him, but I still feel like this is a 7-9 team as they stand today. Realizing that our future schedule is not necessarily that difficult, but this just seems to be that team, especially young defense-wise, where we surprised you by beating the Seattle guys. And I'll reference last year. I mean, we surprised you by beating Green Bay, and then next week we can go and lose to the team like San Francisco, or as history has shown us in the past few years, we go lose to the then St. Louis Rams when that was one of the ones that everybody marked as a W on their calendar. So I'm not going to get on to the bandwagon until I start seeing us win these games that winners should win 10 times out of 10 and not 5 out of 10.
Yeah, sure. Just, stack a few wins and you don't want to go and I mean, they're more talented than San Francisco. They should beat them by, comfortably. You don't want to go here to where it's, comes down to 4 quarters.
Well, by the same argument, I mean, we're more talented than New York player to player too. So we lost that game.
Right. And you go in there, your turnovers, mental mistakes, penalties, all those things, if they go there and play clean, they'll beat them,
Yeah.
But that's the thing, will they? Because you haven't seen it. Well, you haven't seen it a lot this year, to be quite honest. They might have one game where they got 10 penalties for 100 yards. Turn the ball over. I mean, that's not winning football. It's hard to win in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, and I've said this before. I know I did on last week's show. I'm not, in terms of terribly excited about Rankins coming back, simply because Fairley. Now, granted, the Kansas City game, I'm not counting as much because he was obviously not himself after losing his mother, and I don't think anybody has, the right to come at somebody in that situation. But, Fairley has filled in not just admirably, but very well as the 3 technique on that 4-3 line. And that's what we drafted Rankins to play. So I don't necessarily see Rankins coming in more than maybe replacing Davison on pass rushing downs. So I don't necessarily see him having the opportunity to make a big impact as much as I do Bro. I wish we had some superstar middle linebacker hit in the wings that we could put in, that just come out of nowhere and go crazy for us. But I don't think we got Bobby Boucher on the team this year.
I mean, you have to give kudos to Robertson for being a utility man. For moving over, sliding over. He couldn't get
I
done.
appreciate him doing it, but he's not as good at middle linebacker as he was at Will. And, I mean, because he can't do it either. He's not a very good Tampa 2 drop back and coverage linebacker. And we even saw it against Seattle. He was out of place a lot, but that's not his role. I mean, that's not what he was supposed to be doing. He's doing it better than Laurinaitis and Anthony were doing it, to his credit, but he's still not very good at it. I really wish we had somebody that filled that spot so he could go back to where he was really excelling, and that was on the weak side.
Yeah, I mean, you would like to see him. I mean, look, it looks like Anthony's a mistake. Let's be honest. He can't even get on the field. But you would think they would draft one or maybe free agency, but we'll see. I also want to ask you about Pete. I know you love the bigs in the trenches there.
Uh-huh.
He's been playing really well. I mean, the question I got for you is, if he keeps improving at that left guard spot and throughout, the rest of the year, do you leave him there? When it's time for Street to retire? You know what I'm getting at this? If he gets to the point to where he's really solid, almost Pro Bowl level, he's one of your better, do you leave him there and draft Pete's replacement?
Yeah, I think with me,
I mean, not Pete. I'm sorry.
Street's replacement. Yeah, I mean, because we drafted Pete to be the Street replacement, but I mean, I'll just throw this out there because it doesn't get mentioned a lot. He is playing on his natural side of the line. I mean, he wasn't a high school and college career right tackle. He played on the left. I mean, so when he's filled in for Tehran, he's looked pretty good. When he's done left guard, mixed in between Unger and Armstead, he's looked real good. But, I mean, I will say in terms of body size and frame, I mean, he's made to be a tackle. I mean, he's the proto size, everything you want in a tackle. I would want to move him over if I was confident enough to know that he could handle the right tackle spot. Because you can find good guards in free agency, or in our case, we've drafted guards in the 3rd and 4th round, have been pretty fine with it. So tackles being a higher commodity, even right tackles, not as much as left, but still, I'd rather him play tackle simply because it seems to be harder to find quality tackles than it does guards. But, I mean, if he's, like you say, if he gets to where he's playing at a Pro Bowl level, it's hard to argue against the success and move him out of it, too.
Yeah, I mean, but, I guess, it's going to speak volumes what they do in the free agency and the draft, because even though the offensive line is playing really well now, which really is surprising considering that the Evans and Street, they're getting up in age, and Lolito and Clemente, they're not frontline starters, or they'd be starting. They would not went out and got a charge for that just 1 year. I mean, I think that part has to be addressed in the off season.
Well, Brian, I know you've been listening in while Patrick and I have been talking. What do you think? I mean, do you think that Pete should stay at that left guard spot, or do you think that we should just see the future of him at right tackle and just try to find 2 guard spots this upcoming offseason instead of 1?
No, actually, I think he should remain at left guard. And, I definitely agree with you on the idea that his body type suggests he'd be a better tackle than he would guard, because he is 6'7", 6'8", of course, 300 plus, but I do believe there's another guy right now who was a former tackle that shifted inside the guard, and he looks like he's paying dividends for the Oakland Raiders, and that's Asamale right now. Forgive me, I can't recall his first name right now, but the last name is Asamale. So right now, he was a former guard for the Baltimore Ravens, former tackle, moved inside to guard for the Oakland Raiders, and he's just demolishing things right now. So that's paid off huge, and it could be the same way for the New Orleans Saints. I understand Drew Brees is, 5'11", and build that 6 foot, but he's 5'11" easily.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, he knows how to maneuver in the pocket, and right now it seems as if, like you said, Pete being comfortable on the left side, it does. I would hate to see him revert back to what we saw during the off season, and that's just so many different positions. And